Students, this is Module 3 of Business 135, Personal Selling, and what we're going to go over in this module is communication skills, strategic prospecting, and preparing for the sales dialogue, and then at the end we'll go over your check-ins, discussions, and assignments. So let's start with communication skills. The learning objectives for this part of the module is to understand the elements of effective business communication, recognize the implications of different types of verbal and nonverbal communication, learn how your dress communicates in an interview and the workplace, discuss how technology tools can help a salesperson manage customer relationships. So, what is the importance of communication? It builds rapport with your customers. It helps to understand customer needs and preferences. And effective communication can boost your sales effectiveness and customer satisfaction. So here are some of the differences of verbal versus nonverbal communication. On the verbal side, we have communication builds a rapport with the customers, helps to understand customer needs and preferences. Effective communication boosts sales effective and customer satisfaction. So we got all that part. And then on the nonverbal side, you will want to pay attention to the body language, facial expressions, and gestures. Maintain eye contact to convey confidence and sincerity. And use appropriate posture to appear approachable and engaged. A great example of some nonverbal communication, when I was in college, I worked seasonal at Kay Jewelers and I helped to sell jewelry, and we were all on commission. And of course, the engagement rings were the most expensive products in the store, meaning the salespeople would get the biggest commissions. And let me tell you, those salespeople, they knew how to read body language. One of the biggest things was they noticed if someone was nervous about spending a lot of money, they would put their hands in their pockets. That was the body language. If someone had a lot of money to spend, then their hands wouldn't be in their pockets. It was almost like a nervous body language gesture, and I'll never forget that. And I still make sure I don't do that when I go and buy big purchases like jewelries or cars or speaking to a realtor. So just a little example there of something I learned years ago. Now, in the process of interviewing, and we're not talking about a job interview in this particular case, we're talking about interviewing your prospects or your clients, your accounts. Interviews can help gather valuable insights about customer preferences, pain points, and buying motivations. Effective interviewing enables salespeople to customize their approach and offer solutions that resonate with the customer. Another way to word this instead of interviewing is a lot of freelance salespeople, they like to call them discovery calls. So when they first have a prospect, they book a discovery call. This day and age, it's usually all online via Zoom. If you notice in this photo here, and I picked this photo for a reason, look at how the person is dressed. They're not wearing a hoodie. They don't have their hair in kempt. They're put together here. They're not wearing a beanie or a hat. They're dressed professional. Now, they might be wearing sweatpants and slippers, but that's okay because the prospect or the customer is only going to see what's in the video. So when you do any sort of discovery calls, when you're talking to anyone, when you're interviewing online, when you're doing a presentation for school, for example, in this class, make sure you are dressing the professional part as well. Even though you're online, dress professional. All right, so moving on. Preparing for the interview, or sometimes what we call discovery call. You want to research your prospect's background, their industry, and their challenges. When I have a call with folks, I like to have several different website windows open, usually the company's website's open, maybe their Instagram if we're talking a lot about social media, and maybe different news articles if they've been in the news for something big, a certain product. So I like to prepare myself and do research and know my customer or prospect first. You want to prepare a list of open-ended questions to encourage dialogue and gather comprehensive information. I use Google Docs and I have one open during my meeting, so I have my questions already in there so I don't forget anything at the end. You want to ask these open-ended questions, encourage the prospect to share their thoughts and experiences. Listen, active listening. Remember, we learned that already. Avoid yes/no questions and instead focus on questions that elicit detailed responses. Try to understand their pain points so that you know how to give solutions. You don't have to give solutions right there over the phone. In fact, you don't want to. You want to put your solutions in your proposal so that they'll hire you to take care of that product or service. So listen attentively to the prospect's responses without interrupting. Pay attention to nonverbal cues to gauge the prospect's emotions and reactions. Another huge tip when you're doing an interview or a discovery call or a meeting via Zoom, Google Meet, whatever app you're using, you want to send out a calendar invite. Make sure it's professional, it's on both your calendars, and you set that calendar invite for a start time and an end time. Otherwise, you could be talking to someone for an hour or two and get nowhere. I book my discovery calls for 20 minutes. They get a 20-minute discovery call that they don't have to pay for. And me being a freelance person, my time is very valuable, and I don't want to just give free information out. If they want to talk to me longer than 20 minutes, then they need to book a consultation call where I charge a fee for that consultation. And this is very common practice to charge a consultation fee. I know when I need to have a talk with my CPA or my finance advisor, I usually have to pay a consultation fee. Certain doctors, I know that's kind of outside of personal selling, but just so you're aware that it's not uncommon to have a difference between an interview, discovery, short phone call, or meeting, and a longer consultation where you charge. So handling objections, address objections with confidence and empathy, acknowledge the prospect's concerns and provide relevant solutions or alternatives, tailoring solutions, highlight how your products or services address the prospect's needs and challenges, present a compelling value proposition that resonates with the prospect's objectives, and then closing the interview, summarize key points discussed during the interview. So when you're getting closer to that 20-minute time frame, you want to close the interview there with those questions. Schedule next steps. So, maybe they want to do a consultation. Maybe they want to see a proposal next. Maybe you need to send them kind of like a portfolio or examples of previous work, product demonstration, or a follow-up meeting. Follow-up meeting, again, be careful of that because you need to charge, unless it's an account of yours. Maybe it's a client of your company's already and you're trying to upsell them on a service or product they already have, then maybe in that case you wouldn't charge them for a follow-up meeting, and maybe in that case you might have a little bit longer of meetings. So leaving that up to you and for your discretion there, but know that time is valuable and you need to charge for your time. So 6 principles of persuasion. Persuading, negotiating are, I think, the hardest parts of selling. And I'm still learning and practicing. I have gotten 100 times better than when I first started my business 7 years ago, but it's still a trick. It's still tricky. So the 6 principles of persuasion: reciprocity, scarcity, authority, commitment, and consistency, consensus, and liking. So we'll first start reciprocity. Oh, I can't say that word today. The mutual expectation of exchange or value or service builds trust and the relationship. If you are in your customer service and go out of your way to meet the customer's needs, you are appealing to the principle of reciprocity with the knowledge that all humans perceive the need to reciprocate, in this case by increasing the likelihood of making a purchase from you because you were especially helpful. Scarcity, the perception of inadequate supply or a limited resource. You want what you can't have. For a sales rep, this may be key selling points, a particular car, theater tickets, a pair of shoes you're considering, maybe sold to someone else if you delay in making a decision. So we use this strategy a lot when I try to sell registrations for running races. Like, hey, this race is going to sell out fast, or there's only 10 more spots, or prices are going to go up on April 1st. So this is a huge persuasion strategy that I personally use a lot. Authority. Trust essential to the purchase decision. Educate your customers to reveal your expertise to gain credibility. Referencing experts and expertise. Knowledge of a product, field, trends in the field, and even research can make a salesperson more effective. This is why I'm really good with what I do, because I work in a certain niche, which is ultra running, trail running, and road running. I do some other endurance events as well, but that's my niche. And because I have such a strong knowledge of the product, the field, the trends in the field, I'm very effective and persuasive. Commitment and consistency. Oral communication can be slippery in memory. What we said at one moment or another, unless recorded, can be hard to recall. If we write it down or we sign something, we are more than likely to follow through. This is why during the calls, I always have Google Notes. If for some reason I'm out somewhere and it's on the fly call and I don't have my computer with me, I use the notes app in my phone and I take down notes because honestly, I'm not going to remember anything. And when it comes to agreements and contracts, everything has to be in writing in a contract, signed contract or agreement, or really it doesn't matter. So I like to have all my communication with my clients through email. And if there's a partnership and agreement, everything has to be signed contract agreement. Consensus involves the tendency of the individual to follow the lead of the group or peers. Testimonials can be highly persuasive. If everybody else thinks this product is great, it must be great. Here's an example here. This is Spring Energy. They did a collaboration post with professional athlete Jennifer Lichter. And so they just, all these comments here, everyone's agreeing on how wonderful this product is, how it helped an amazing professional athlete get first place at this awesome race. And it's kind of like testimonials as well. Liking involves a perception of safety and belonging in communication. We tend to be attracted to people who communicate to us that they like us and who make us feel good about ourselves. Of course we do. It's just human nature. We are drawn to people who are like us or who we perceive ourselves to be, and often make those judgments based on external characteristics such as dress, age, sex, race, ethnicity, etc. All right, moving on to strategic prospecting. So the learning objectives of this section is to identify digital means of prospecting for customers, develop appropriate strategies for social selling, use the correct tools to design a digital strategy for building a personal brand and prospecting with customers. Now, when I refer to social selling, that term first started with selling on the platform LinkedIn, but really this term can be used for any type of social media selling just because it's evolved so much in the past 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Prospecting. Prospecting includes all activities a salesperson does to initiate contact with customers for new business. I do this all day long. Social media, in person, email, website, I'm always prospecting. It's the first step to customer in your pipeline. Without prospecting, nothing happens in the further pipeline stages. No prospecting equals no closing sales. Types of prospecting. So we have traditional, which is more through phone and email, or digital, which is through video, emails, and social media. Really any type of emails are still used these days. Social media is used a lot. There's not much phone prospecting anymore. Let's be real, guys. Every cell phone gives you a warning when it's a spam call, and when it is a salesperson on the phone, you just hang up or you say you're not interested. So that's kind of a dying field there. I know that direct mail is still sent to you, but that's kind of been dying as well, and it's very expensive to do direct mail. So it's a lot less expensive to do emails and social media. And also types of prospecting can be in person at networking events. I travel all the time. I'm always at events. I'm constantly meeting new people. I actually prospect through my hobbies as well, and you can too. I see it all the time. Realtors, loan officers, finance directors. I attend a lot of group runs for fun, and it really is networking. When you're running with a group of people and you're getting to know them, you tend to ask them, what do you do for a living, and you kind of find out what people do, and it's prospecting. Do it all the time. At the gym, I do it. I work out at more of a community gym, not like a 24-hour fitness thing, and I get to know a lot of people in there. And I actually hired someone recently to make a logo for me because I found out they're a graphic designer who works out at my gym. So it happens all the time. Social selling is using social media to find potential customers, cultivate business relationships, and build a professional brand. Me personally, on my personal Instagram account is where I do 80% of my business. Only about 20%, 15% is personal. The rest is really business. Social selling is not spamming customers with your product or service. It's about building meaningful connections, being authentic, building that trust with someone. So here's some examples. Building trust and rapport and all that. This is a client of mine, Destination Trail Races, and they put on racing events, trail race events, and so that's kind of their demographic. So this is just like a social media post here. Who would want to run an epic race like this? And we have all these comments of people responding, and this is kind of another example of that whole peer pressure thing. Testimonials can be put through in here, and it could be showing like, hey, there's only 10 spots left. It's kind of those kind of examples as well. Here's another post. don't miss out. So showing that scarcity. So this is just a marketing channel of how to do social selling, right? So we're selling out this race, Orcas Island. We're selling out this race, part of their Washington Trail series at Deception Pass. See how it's sold out. One distance is already sold out, and the marathon has less than 50 spots. And people always comment in here, and they give testimonials like, "Oh, this was the best race ever. We had so much fun last year. Looking forward to it this year." So just building that excitement. They also have a series of 200-mile races. I know it sounds crazy. You don't even drive that far, but yes, there are people who run 200-mile running races, and I am one of them. This one is a picture at Tahoe, Lake Tahoe area. So they're getting everyone excited. A way to build trust and community and rapport is this strategy in social media or social selling that says Trail Talk Tuesday. So they're not selling anything in these type of posts. They're educating and showing that their knowledge base of the course of the sport. So every Tuesday they grab someone who has previously ran their race, so almost like a testimonial, and they share their tip. So they're including their audience to be a part of this campaign. And then people respond back. They appreciate it. They love it. This has been a huge hit, and it's a great strategy. So not every social selling post has to be actual selling. And we're not going to get into a lot of social media in this class because I actually teach another class through MiraCosta on just social media marketing and business. But we're just kind of going through an overview here so that you can see how this is used these days. Kind of like a brief overview. But I encourage you all to take the social media class as well. So social media has two purposes for a salesperson. Social branding, so building the unique personal brand on social media. Prospecting, finding customers by building relationships and waiting for trigger events to introduce your product. So here we go. We're finding new customers for this demographic, and we are building the relationship. Now, so kind of moving over a little bit to a personal brand and social branding, which is a marketing strategy. And we're not going to go over everything there is to know about branding because, again, I actually teach another class, personal branding, so which is just on branding strategies. But so you guys have an aware of this, a personal brand is a perception of an individual derived from recognized expertise, achievements, and capabilities. A personal brand is important because you can take it wherever you go. Your personal brand needs to be transferable. So this is great for someone who's a finance director or, financial advisor, maybe a realtor. Maybe you do hair and you work at a salon and you rent a chair, but really the business is you and you're selling your service to do hair or a barber. Those types of personal brands is what you want to create. So prospecting on social media, as you build your professional relationships, you will recognize how your product service could help solve a problem customers you have. In these situations, it's appropriate to educate potential customers about solutions that can make their life easier. So content marketing and inbound strategies is part of that. When you create valuable, informative content to attract a potential prospect. Publishing blog posts is a big example of content creation. White papers, case studies that address common pain points and offer solutions. So depending on what product solution you're selling, service you're selling, you would do one of these three or all of the above. And it's just all falls into the area of content marketing. So with me, what I do, one of the services I provide is to write blogs for other brands and clients. I've written a couple of white papers and case studies, but not too many of those in the running industry. That's like more when I worked in the software industry years ago. So you want to optimize your website and content for search engines to increase visibility and attract organic traffic. So just kind of moving back here. Personal brand. Building your prospecting on social media and creating content for inbound strategies. So just a little review there. So here's an example of this brand here. They actually make toe socks for different types of athletes, primarily hikers and trail runners, but they do road runners, CrossFit, skiers, snowboarders, all that sorts of things. So for many years, I was writing all of their blogs where I would interview the athletes, the professional athletes via Zoom and then I would write the blogs on a certain subject. So now they kind of change things around, and they have more of their athletes, the ones who know how to write, because not every professional athlete knows how to write a blog. And this is just kind of an example. So they sell their product is toe socks, right? But the articles could be anything regarding their product or the sports. So for this particular blog, the best foot care for runners, which would include a good quality sock. So qualifying leads, establish criteria. So as you're prospecting, next step after prospecting, you find your prospects, you want to qualify your lead. Establish criteria for qualifying leads based on factors like budget, authority, need, and timeline. So for example, if you're a graphic designer and you have a bunch of prospects who need logos, but you want to qualify them first, maybe your minimum to create, I'm just throwing out these numbers, guys. Maybe if your minimum to create a logo for a client is $1,000, that's your absolute minimum. So then you're going to want to qualify them on their budget. You're going to want to make sure that they're aware that your minimum for a logo is $1,000. If the prospect's budget is $200, then that business relationship is not going to work, and they are not a qualifying lead. You want to ask targeted questions to assess the prospect's level of interest and readiness to buy. Are they looking to get a logo within the next 30 days, or are they looking in 6 months? Because that's going to determine a lot for your schedule. You want to prioritize leads based on their likelihood to convert and allocate resources accordingly. That's if you have a big team. Maybe you do video production and you have to hire a team. That would be your resource. So you want to prioritize those leads. Nurturing relationships, another thing I do all day long. I love it too, because I'm a very social person. You want to build the rapport and trust with prospects through ongoing communication and relationship building efforts. Provide value by offering relevant information, insights, and solutions to their needs. Stay top of mind with regular follow-ups and touch points to keep prospects engaged. You don't want them to forget about you. You want to make sure as soon as they're ready to make a purchase, whether that be a product or service, you're the one who's on the top of their list to call for that. Whether you're a realtor or a barber, or you do nails, or you sell jewelry, whatever the case may be. So here's an example here. This is a very famous race director. He's Canadian. Half of his events are in Canada and the other half are in the United States. Just like many race directors, he's constantly either improving his events or adding to his events. So when he decided to add to an event, he first hired me as a race ambassador, which is not monetary compensation, but in this case, it was enough value for me to have a partnership with him, because the races that he put on, this particular race that I got an entry to without having to pay for, was $2,500. So something like that is worth it to me. If it was a $50 race, I would not be interested. Not to be mean, but that's the way I work. So this race director, he also has paid staff positions at his races. And throughout the years, the last few years, I've gotten to know him really good. I've helped him sell out his races by being a race ambassador, spent plenty of time on the trails with him, and his media team. So he has a whole media team. Sure enough, who's the first person when he calls when he wants to start talking about adding a new event located in California? I was the first person he called, because he knows that one of the services I provide is to manage race ambassadors. So not only was I a race ambassador for him, it's something that I do. If you go to my website, you can actually see there's a link in there. And it's a monthly retainer fee for me to manage your race ambassadors. So sure enough, he called me. He said, hey, let's talk. I need to have you be my race ambassador manager, and I'm also interested in adding you to my media team for social media. I was the first person top of mind. And that was through nurturing the relationship we already had. All right, moving on. Preparing for a sales dialogue. Highlighting your value proposition. Clearly articulate the value proposition of your products or services. Emphasize how your offerings address the prospect's specific needs and pain points, and differentiate yourself from competitors by highlighting unique features or benefits. Value proposition is a huge, what do we call these? Keywords in business, whether it's for business or nonprofit business. Providing solutions. So you want to offer tailored solutions that align with your prospect's goals and objectives. Present case studies or testimonials to demonstrate the effectiveness of your offerings. So it's great to have referrals as well. So previous clients, previous projects. Address objections and concerns with confidence and empathy. Creating urgency. So, kind of how we mentioned earlier, you want to create a sense of urgency by highlighting limited time offers or special promotions, emphasize the immediate benefits of taking action, such as solving and pressing problems or meeting a deadline. Encourage prospects to make a decision by providing incentives or bonuses for timely action. Here's an example: selling at a race, 50 spots left. Here's the date. This is the race that's about $2,500, but the price does go up the longer you wait, and it sells out every year. So creating a sense of urgency. Another way to do this is if you have proposals you're written and you sending them out, some prospects might sit on that proposal for a while. So you can put a due date in your proposal. Hey, this proposal is only good for 15 days. This proposal is only good for 30 days. Because what if you have multiple proposals out there and you have one client that says yes, you have another client that you're waiting for, but you're not going to say you can only take on so much work, and your scheduling and your calendar. If you're a graphic designer, you can't take on 20 projects at one time. You have to, pick and choose which ones you want to take unless you have a staff who you can handle the bandwidth. So creating that sense of urgency. Closing the sale. Not everyone can do this. It's not easy, and it does take a lot of practice. You want to recognize buying signals and seize opportunities to close the sale. Use persuasive language and calls to action to prompt the prospect to make a purchase. Offer assistance and support throughout the buying process to facilitate a smooth transition. Providing exceptional service. You want to deliver exceptional service to exceed customer expectations and build loyalty. This is so important to follow up after the sale to ensure satisfaction and address any issues or concern. So once you close a deal, and you want to keep the relationship and customer service positive and going. You don't want to just forget about that person and move on to the next person, because you want them to come back and make another transaction. You want them to refer you to another person to make another sale. So referrals, repeat business. This is super huge in real estate, loan officers, finance advisors. So speaking of realtors and loan officers, here's some examples here of social media posts. So we have a loan officer, mortgage guy. He likes to post testimonials, and these are different type of reviews. Like this one looks like it's oh shoot, I can't think of it right now. Different reviews. This one looks like a Google review, and this one looks like, I can't remember the name. But so he takes his customer testimonials and he screenshots them and he posts them on social media. This particular person is a realtor, and you can see she's using the same template to post her client testimonial. You can do either way you want. Having the likes and comments here doesn't really help too much with deciding which one to use, because these were screenshotted at different times. I could have screenshotted this right when it got posted, so I'm not really sure. But, just two different ways of showing your customer testimonials on social media. Okay, so that was kind of a long lecture there. Might have to review some of this stuff a couple times. I speak fast sometimes. But I hope that I gave you some insight on personal selling for this module. And this week, what we're going to have do is your check-in 3, which is your bucket list, discussion 3, which will be on social media prospecting, quiz 3, and your assignment 2, sales professional interview. This one might take a little bit because you have to interview a real person. So don't procrastinate on this, please. Hopefully you guys can see this soon and work ahead. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to email me or come into my office hours. Thanks. Have a great day.